স্পিকারটা শুধুমাত্র এখান থেকেই করবো, মাইক্রোফোনটা এটা এখন কল থেকে কাজ করে বের করবো। হেডফোনে যেতে পারবো বলছো? আমি এবার জয়েন করছি, হ্যাঁ।
ঠিক আছে, এবার কি আমি বলবো নাকি এটা দাও?
হ্যাঁ, আপনি যান, কথা বলতে।
তাও জানি।
তাহলে বাইরে যাচ্ছি,
হ্যাঁ,
আপনিও বলবেন এটা দেখো শুনতে পাচ্ছি কিনা। আগে মিটিংটা ফাইল নিয়ে নিতে হবে। না, এটা ইকো হবে।
এখানে আমি দেখে নিতে পারছি না।
আচ্ছা,
হ্যালো,
হ্যালো, হ্যাঁ, এবার আমি বাইরে আছি।
হুম,
হ্যাঁ, সুদর্শন দা, সাউন্ড ক্লিয়ার?
এখন ক্লিয়ার আছে।
ঠিক আছে, ইকো হয়নি তো?
না, এই তো হয়নি।
ঠিক আছে,
ঠিক আছে,
ওকে।
ঠিক আছে।
হবে।
Recording in progress.
Pause করে।
Recording stopped. এটা কাট। হ্যাঁ। আগে আমার এই স্লাইডটা লোড করবে।
হ্যাঁ, ডেস্কটপে রাখছি, ডেস্কটপে রেখেছি।
আচ্ছা, তাহলে আমাদের ল্যাপটপটা লাগবে না, আমরা একটা ল্যাপটপ নিয়েছি। তা ঠিক আছে, রাখো তুমি বসো।
এখানে রেখে দিচ্ছি, একবার এখান থেকে সাইড করবো।
আচ্ছা, ফাইলটা খুলে নি।
হ্যাঁ, ফাইলটা খুলে দিন, কথা বলি। আপনি ডেট দিয়ে কিছু করা আছে?
অ্যাওয়ারনেস বলি।
ইয়ে নাও, এটা
হ্যাঁ, এটা।
চলে যাচ্ছে।
হুম, ঠিক আছে। এটা আমারটা বাদ।
হ্যাঁ, ফোন দেয় বা ফোন করি।
হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ। PNC কোম্পানি।
আছে।
হ্যাঁ। ওরা ঢুকে যাচ্ছে।
এই জিনিসটাকে একটু রিমাইন্ড করে দিই।
আমাদেরকে ওরা দেখতে পাচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ মানে ক্যামেরা ঘুরিয়ে দেখতে হবে। এখন এদিকে মুখ করা আছে, আমাদেরটা ওই রাইট সাইডে,
ও
এটা গ্রিন বর্ডার।
আইসাইট পেজ জায়গা
তারপরে যে জুম 11 লেখা আছে ওরা রিমেইন করে দিলে চলে যাবে আই থিংক।
আর পেজফুল নেই।
আচ্ছা আপনি পুরো আছে দ্যাট ইজ সি সার্কিট কে ওই করে দিই।
তোমাদের এখানকার সব রিসার্চ করার অফিসটা যদি থাকে।
হ্যাঁ ম্যাডাম রিলেট করে দিয়েছো আচ্ছা কি
আচ্ছা ওটা বলবে এবার আইসাইট একটু কি জয়েন করেছে।
হ্যাঁ
ওটা ভিডিও অফ করে
ভিডিও
এইটা হচ্ছে আইসাইট চেন্নাই। তুমি রেকর্ড
খবর
কি আসছে
ঠিক আছে
প্রোগ্রামটা শুরু হবে এই ইনফোটা একটু এই তো আমি দিচ্ছি যদি ডিপার্টমেন্ট থেকে কেউ আসেনি তোমাদের
ওটা স্টকে রেখে
ওকে এটা ভালো বলে ওকে
এরাও তো
so can you now hear us from IIT Chennai and IIT Tirupur if you can unmute yourself.
Sir, we are here.
Okay so is the sound clear?
Yes, we could hear. No issues.
Okay thank you.
মানুষের কিছু তো বললো না তার মানে আছে উনি না উনি বলেছিলেন আমার বাড়িতে একটু অসুবিধা আছে আমি জানিয়ে বলছি
মনে আছে
Because why no one is sitting? What is happening? I told 2:45. Everyone is standing in the corridor. They're going to come and sit here.
সামনে কি সামনে
সামনের লোক খান একদম পেছনে দেখি দেখতে কখন হলো আমাদের আমরা ওখানে বলেছিল আসছে আমরা গ্রাজুয়েট আর এটা তো খুব শর্ট নোটিস জানানো কত দিকে বললো করতে হবে ভুলে যায় এটা পাঠাতে তুমি আসো তারপর
একদম হচ্ছে সেকেন্ড
হ্যাঁ অডিয়েন্স এর শুনি কেন আমরা বলেছি আসবে তো তাও গেল এখানে ছেলেরা প্রয়োজন বোধ করছে এটাও সেইটাই চাইনি আমাদের চেন্নাই বললো আমরা নতুন তখন সরকারি বললাম হ্যাঁ সুজাতাকে তুলতে দেশ করে কিন্তু অনেকজন হয়ে গেছে পেছন থেকে ফিল আপ করতে আলাদা দেখে মনে হচ্ছে যে যারা বলেন একটু সামনে
আগে ছেলেটা বলেন হ্যাঁ
তাহলে এলেই আমরা রিপোর্ট পাঠাতে হবে
সেটা কি এক্সটার্নাল ফান্ডেড প্রজেক্ট বা ওই সবের জন্য নাকি আইএসআই এর ব্যাপারে আমরা ওরকম উত্তরটা পেয়েছি তোমাদের
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all as we come together to observe sexual harassment at Workplace Prevention Week. My name is Ayuti Banerjee, and I am a fellow at the Geological Studies Unit, ISI Kolkata, as well as a student member of the Internal Complaints Committee, ISI Kolkata. Sexual harassment in the workplace encompasses any unwelcome or inappropriate behavior of sexual nature that fosters a hostile, intimidating, or offensive work environment. Such behavior compromises individual dignity, safety, and well-being, often leaving significant emotional, psychological, and professional repercussions. A report by Business Standard highlights that sexual harassment in Indian workplaces continues to be a pressing issue, with an average of 445 cases reported annually between 2018 and 2022. To safeguard against such misconduct, the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, commonly referred to as the POSH Act, was enacted. Despite this progressive legislation, ensuring compliance and creating awareness remain significant challenge. Today's program is dedicated to raising awareness and empowering us all to effectively address and prevent sexual harassment in the workplace. To begin, I invite Professor Deepti Prasad Mukherjee to speak on this critical topic.
Thank you. In fact, I'm not going to speak on the exact issues right here because I think my awareness is limited to a certain extent. But first of all, I would like to welcome you all to this very important program. I think it's very, very important for all of us. At the same time, I welcome my colleagues from Chennai and also my colleagues from ISI Tejpur that they have find time and to join in our program. So once again, this is a very, very important occasion that I think is going to raise the awareness about this problem. Whether most of the time, most of the situations that we are aware of, at least in ISI, my experience actually, frankly speaking, zeroes down to the fact that we are really not aware of the definition of the boundaries of sexual harassment. And sometimes there is a common misunderstanding in sort of judging the situation. So therefore, I think in a program like this is very important. We will get to know at least person like me get to know much more details about these issues. And it is unfortunate that our students, there should have been more participation from the students. I think for the next year onward, if we have a program, we should have a better campaign for a program like this so that more and more students can participate in that. And that's very important. Given the current scenarios at different places, that is very, very important. From a personal experience, I can actually have my understanding actually ranges between two extreme cases of this kind of situation, if you call that a sexual harassment workplace. I think at the very beginning, during in and around my age, around 35, I was probably just part of the situation. From my daughter, when she came back from the school and she told me that what is a good touch and what is a bad touch. That is my first exposure to this problem at that moment. And at a much later stage, I heard an important sexual harassment case from one of my college mates, classmate actually. So it was about an office in New York, and there are quite a few employees of that company working in a large hall, and they had to regulate the room temperature. So the issue was what would be the room temperature? Now the room temperature for men working in that room was, let's say, X, and room temperature for women, it seems Y. Now, will there be a difference between X and Y? And if Y is low or Y is high, is that a sexual harassment? And in fact, it's a very famous bank actually, the example I'm giving. And the bank is in a very difficult situation to, in fact, they consulted universities to actually come up with if there is a good definition of body temperature of male population and a good definition of body temperature of women. And based on that, the central air conditioning system has to be maintained. So the issue of sexual harassment, in my understanding, is widely varied. Requires a lot of definitions. Some of them, probably you cannot even define. So therefore, once again, these kind of programs are very much required, where we should actually can gain our experience and awareness about this topic. So with this, once again, I welcome all of you. I welcome my colleagues again from Chennai and Peshtu, and I hope it will be a fruitful session for all of us. Thank you.
I would like to request Professor Prodika Bandyopadhyay, member of the Internal Complaints Committee, ISI Kolkata, to share a few valuable insights.
Well, I was expecting a little more participation from the schools because that's the audience that I am usually comfortable addressing. But at the same time, I think what I was planning to say is something that is probably applicable to general ISI audience. Well, if I remember correctly, few years ago, I don't exactly remember, I think it was 2021, when during the International Women's Day celebration at ISI, I was asked to talk about why there are too few girls students in ISI and the problems they face. And of course, I was probably not the right person to talk about such things because I have no first-hand experience of that. But I had the advantage that having been in this campus for nearly 45 years now, I knew too many of them. And of course, all that I had to do was there is a alumni Facebook page called ISI Friends, and I posed this question on that page, and I was almost flooded with reactions. And my presentation there in that program was essentially a combination of what I heard from them, including actually live interviews from some of the ex-students, research scholars, etc. And what we understand is that ISI, of course, in probably in almost all academic institutions in India, women are a minority and they are drastic minority, so to say. The percentage probably is less than 20. Okay, and that creates problem at several levels. For example, in the student community, if you have only in a class of 40, you have only 4 or 5 girls, and they face some problems from some other classmates, they often hesitate to complain. And this is something we have experienced firsthand, yes. And the reason being that, well, today I am complaining about you, and tomorrow I will have to go to you to explain, to get my class notes explained to me. Well, there is this problem, and this is a very serious problem. A very serious problem. And the other aspect of this is, of course, in order to improve the gender ratio at ISI or at least in the student community, we have instituted some encouragements and some, so I mean, in recent times we have started what is called this, in the admission, there are supernumerary admission to girls. Now, the flip side of that is something how we have done this. But what the other thing that we did was encouraging in the sense of, say, we have for I think BSTET and students and MSTET students, there are 2 awards, the Mukul Choudhury Memorial Award and Sri Gangopal Memorial Award. Both are for best girl students. Well, the best girl student may not be the best student of the class. And then she faces the slur that because you are a girl, you are being awarded, whereas even after performing better than you, I am not. So are we encouraging gender discrimination just by giving awards to the girls? I know that the answer is no, but how to prevent this discrimination from the classmates? That is something that we have probably not addressed completely very well. And after the supernumerary, well, things get even worse. You are not worthy of ISI, but you have been taken into ISI because you are a girl. How do you prevent this attitude of the male classmates? We have not been able to answer that question yet. These are questions that we should think about, we should try to address. Otherwise, this, for example, my impression is that I am not very sure, I probably have checked with the team. This year, we said first year, intake of girl students is much below the supernumerary number. Whether that is because this information has already gone out is something I don't know. Okay, and there are other things. When as I said, I was taking feedback from the previous, girl alumni of ISI, and several points were made. And I'm sure the women present here would agree with me. There are too few girls' toilets in the institute. 1. 2. the ladies hostel does not have a dining facility. They have to go to the boys hostel or the research scholar hostel to have their meals. In our time, that was not the case. And more than exposing the girls to the boys or all boys environment in that way, well, when I go to the dining hall, I am probably in my baluga and t-shirt. And the girls cannot come to the dining hall like this because they are going to a different hostel. So we are actually exposing the girls to an informal boys all environment, which is probably not healthy enough. Um, and of course, this problem has to be addressed in a much broader platform, perhaps. Um, yeah, the other thing that I wanted to say is that another negative impact of not having a common space in the ladies hostel is ladies hostel, for example, in the boys hostel case, you have boys hostel, MTech hostel, research fellows hostel, separate hostels for more or less separate age groups. In the ladies hostel, from distant first year to the senior most PhD scholars stay in the same hostel, which is in a sense good. But unless you give them a platform to interact, they don't even know each other. They don't have a common place to interact with each other. So they don't know say, the first year girl, if she faces a problem, she can actually have a senior staying in the same hostel to talk to. They don't have a platform where they can interact. These are I would say that these are just some thoughts that I had coming here. And this is, of course, not just directly talking about sexual harassment itself or sexual harassment in the workplace. This is, I am talking more about the students. And for them, it's not really a workspace. But I think what I said is something that will probably be appreciated by even female faculty. Yes, there are too many female faculty also in ISI, and the numbers in recent times have gone again down. Moshumiti retired, Amita retired, Namonika retired, Shushmita retired, and we have not been able to replace them by sufficiently many, as many as the women faculty as we would like to have. Okay, so these are food for thought, and I think I'll end with that.
Thank you, sir. I request Professor Sharmani Pari, member of the Internal Governance Committee, IC Kolkata, to present her perspective.
Also the chair of IC. This is actually a replacement for Professor Amita Pal. She was the one.
Good.
Good morning, everybody. It's actually evening, almost evening. So what I thought. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What is it?
So as a suggestion from our chairman, Sushmita Mitra, I thought I would share some of my experiences while being a member of the Internal Complaints Committee and being associated with such incidents. So there are different sort of definitions, but amounting to more or less the same. So one of these was given by IOD, the one by International Labour Organization, and another by the CES. But finally, it is something which makes the lady, the student, feel uncomfortable. And here I translate the workplace to the institute atmosphere. And it affects your work, it affects everything. And this sort of harassment can be verbal or it may be through some form of contact. This is just to lighten the mood. This is just a video which I found on the YouTube.
Hello?
So, so these slides are basically sort of to collect my thoughts or my whatever I was wanting to communicate. So the types of complaints that we have dealt with have been four classes, you could say, between two co-workers, so which were non-faculty. So the case here was actually this was not exactly here, but at one of the outlying centers. So one of the co-workers was a very powerful member here, and the other one was just a contractual worker. So this is very often the case that the person who's much more powerful really makes an abuse of power. So what happened was, so this was in a sort of remote location of that place. So this person reportedly tried to make some advances. This lady later came back and reported. The case went on for very long, but eventually there was some action taken. The person always denied it. But that is how it happens, that probably there were some initial incidents which the lady chose to ignore, and then later swelled up. has been a case very relatively between two faculty members in which the nature of complaint was totally verbal. But there were a lot of messages which were full of sexual intent, which the person who sent the messages later said that he didn't mean it that way, but that is not what we can do. So you have to be careful about making such statements which have some connotations, especially which are well known. Between a faculty member and a student, the one which I was at the time rather closely associated with. So that also happened at a remote, at an outlying center, not exactly an outlying center. That was a location not at Kolkata. So there was some sort of a collaborative meeting. After the meeting was over, this professor tried to make some advances. The student got scared. She probably left immediately, and then later she came back and complained. So this went on for a very long time. And then this girl finally left the place. What I gathered from her was that this professor had a very good network. So actually, this girl, she was working towards a PhD, and no one wants to sort of destroy their future life, whichever place she would go to, would again have somebody who was one of the close associates of the professor here. So she dropped it at a point, and that is understandable but very regrettable. But she left it because she didn't want to destroy her career. And then, between students, the kind of harassment which we observed lately, that has been, of course, verbal, mainly verbal, but through actions like vulgar dancing, dressing up, which was also in very bad taste, objectification. So these are very objectionable, actually. Now, as Professor Pradipta Bandyopadhyay pointed out, the number of girl students are very less, and they often don't like to complain because that means sort of, again, disturbing their so-called friendships, which might help them in their day-to-day work. So usually they try to tolerate and then get over it, but naturally that is what helps these things to grow. So the difficulties that we faced was, as I said, their reluctance to come forth and talk about it or make a complaint early on so that these things don't grow. For physical offenses which are made on the spur of the moment, there can be no record. And that is a big problem. You have to reconstruct the problem from whatever account you get of it. And some offenses of a physical nature can be recorded, like the ones that I talked about, vulgar dressing up. So those things, it is possible to keep track. And verbal exchanges, as I said, may be imputed with a particular color, so one has to be careful in not making them. And therefore, some guidelines would be that it is you're always encouraged to speak out. If that is not possible, then at least discuss it with close friends, which, as Consultant Mr. Bandyopadhyay pointed out, at the moment at the hostel, there is sort of a dearth of this facility. But talk to somebody, maybe a little senior or some other faculty, to save yourself and save others, because otherwise the problem simply builds up, escalates. And there is often a question as to what is harassment, what is not. So you have to be sensitive about the people around you and the culture, the prevailing system of values. So making statements which are not nice and then saying that, oh, this kind of statement is very popular, let's say in America, doesn't solve the situation. So the culture is different here. People think about things differently here. And it's not enough to say that I'm very progressive minded, so it's not my fault. Finally, it always states that there are some pathological offenders. They usually have a history of such offenses. But there are usually, I mean, if you are careful, then you can get to hear about them, and you have to keep your distance and take a call. So that is all I have to say to you. I mean, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, especially to Mr. Shobhit Roy and Madam Gogoi for arranging participation from there. Thank you again.
Thank you, ma'am. I invite Professor Sushmita Mitra, Chairperson of the Internal Complaints Committee, ISA Kolkata, to share her thoughts on this important occasion. Good afternoon, everyone. So I thank you all for being here to listen to what we have to say in this very important program on outlining about what is sexual harassment and how we can be able to counter it in whatever manner possible. I thank my earlier speakers, Professor Vicky Prasad Mukherjee, Professor Pradipta Gangotpadhyay, and Professor Sharbani Pali for bringing out the context of the situation and explaining about some of the practical incidents that they have been aware of. How you all also need to be sensitive and aware of such situations, whether you're a girl or a boy, or a boy being sensitive to how you should deal with your friends or others, other females. So I thought I'd present something about what is sexual harassment of women at workplace and what you should do with the Internal Complaints Committee, which is there in all the centers of ISI. We have here, and we also have in our outlying centers like Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, and Tezpur. So the Chennai and the Tezpur team are participating together with us today, and the other two will be doing it on their own because it's a government directive to organize this for this week. We are going to observe this week. So the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. So this is an awareness program. So what is it? It is an act to provide protection against sexual harassment of women at workplace and for the prevention and redressal of complaints of sexual harassment and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Sexual harassment is a violation of the fundamental rights of a woman to equality under Articles 14 and 15 of the Constitution of India. Her right to life and to live with dignity under Article 21 of the Constitution, right to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade, or business, which includes a right to a safe environment free from sexual harassment. Protection against sexual harassment and the right to work with dignity are universally recognized human rights by international conventions and instruments such as Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. It was ratified on the 25th of June, 1993 by the Government of India. Section 3(1) of the Act declares no woman shall be subjected to sexual harassment at any workplace. So what is sexual harassment? Any one or more of the following unwelcome acts of behavior, whether directly or by implication, which includes physical contact and advances, or a demand or request for sexual favor, or sexually colored remarks, or showing pornography, or other offensive or derogatory pictures, cartoons, or any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature,
which is under section 2N of the Act. So it's not essentially only restricted to physical contact. Many things else, many other things also constitute sexual harassment. Definition of workplace. It includes any place visited by the employee arising out of or during the course of employment, including transportation provided by the employer. It covers organized and unorganized sectors, government organizations, private sector organizations, hospitals or nursing homes, sports institutes, facilities, dwelling or house. And it extends to office parties, offsites, outbound training, client meetings, training sessions, travel for office purpose, any place visited in the course of employment. Section 2 of the Act. Forms of workplace sexual harassment, quid pro quo, this for that. It implies explicit promise, implicit or explicit promise of preferential or detrimental treatment in employment, implied or expressed threat about her present or future employment status, maybe from a boss to a junior, hostile work environment, creating hostile, intimidating, or an offensive work environment, humiliating treatment likely to affect her health and safety. Section 3(2) of the Act. Who is an aggrieved woman as per the Act? In relation to a workplace, a woman of any age, whether employed or not, who alleges to have been subjected to any act of sexual harassment by the respondent. Can be any woman who is a regular employee, a temporary employee, an ad hoc appointee, a daily wage earner, a visitor, one who is engaged directly or indirectly as a contractor, working for remuneration, voluntary or otherwise. Terms of employment may be explicit or implied, a co-worker, contract worker, probationer, trainee, apprentice. In relation to dwelling place or house, a woman of any age who is employed in such a dwelling place or house. Now, any student is also included here. Any student of an educational institution also falls within the ambit of this definition. This is by section 2(o) of the Act. So duties of the employer include providing a safe working environment at the workplace, which shall include safety from the persons coming into contact at the workplace. Section 19(a) of the Act. So each organization has an internal complaints committee, like we do, and I'm currently the chairperson. Every employer of a workplace shall, by an order in writing, constitute a committee to be known as the Internal Complaints Committee or ICC. There should be a separate ICC for each branch or office if there are multiple. We also have in all our branches. Norms regarding constitution of the ICC are clearly specified by the Act. Functions of the ICC includes to educate and sensitize employees about the issue. That is what we are trying to do today, to sensitize the employees and the students. To address the compliance, conduct inquiries, etc. So any complaint comes to us, we need to take it up seriously. We need to interview the complainant and the respondent, and we need to arrive at a decision after considering all the documents or pictures or whatever is there. And then we need to come up with a decision and we forward the decision to the employer who takes necessary action. So it operates as a quasi-judicial body with powers to summon and enforce attendance, call for evidence or documents. So when we are dealing with complaints. So this is section 4(l) of the Act. The complaint mechanism. An aggrieved woman may make in writing a complaint of sexual harassment at workplace to the complaints committee within a period of 3 months from the date of the incident or from the date of the last incident in case of a series of incidents. The time limit may be extended for another 3 months if the complaints committee is satisfied with the reasons for non-filing on time. If the woman is unable to make a complaint in writing, the complaints committee must provide assistance. Who can make the complaint? The woman herself. In case of mental incapacity, her relative, her friend, special educator, qualified psychiatrist or psychologist, guardian under whom she is receiving care, or any person who has information about the incident with the written consent of any of them. In case of physical incapacity, her relative, friend, co-worker, officer of the National or State Commission for Women, any person who has information about the incident with the written consent of the woman. In case of death, any person who has information about the incident with the written consent of the legal heir. In any other case, by any person who has information about the incident with the written consent of the woman. The complaint. It should be in 6 copies by the aggrieved person, and it should contain all the material and relevant details concerning the alleged sexual harassment, which includes the name of the contravenor, the complainant, date, time, location, working relationship between the parties, names and addresses of witnesses, if any. Upon receipt of a complaint by the ICC, the chairperson will inform the other members of the committee at the earliest possible, and the committee will take further steps in the matter as required. The first meeting must be held immediately within reasonable time, but not later than 7 working days of receiving the written complaint of the aggrieved. The ICC shall investigate the complaint and submit in its report containing the findings or recommendations along with relevant documents. In conducting inquiry, a minimum of 3 members of the complaints committee, including the chairperson, must be present. Upon receipt of complaint, the ICC must review the complaint to ensure it has all the information. The conduct of the respondent towards complainant is improper and may form sexual harassment at workplace. The incident occurred at workplace or at any location or any event related to work. Send the complaint to respondent within 7 days of receipt, to respond within 10 days. Meet up with the complainant for any settlement or conciliation. If the respondent agrees, then the ICC may, if the complainant agrees, the ICC may initiate conciliation process in the form of verbal warning, counseling, educating, appointing neutral conciliator to resolve. Then forward the findings or conciliation resolution to the employer. The choice lies with the complainant, whether to go for this option. Otherwise, there is the inquiry. The ICC initiates the inquiry, interviews the complainant, respondent, and witnesses, if any, makes a listing of the events, conducts the fact finding. Confidentiality and impartiality is the key. Inquiry process must follow the principles of natural justice. The ICC can order ex parte or terminate the proceedings if the complainant or respondent fail to be present for 3 consecutive hearings. Legal practitioners are not permitted to be members of the committee. Confidentiality must be maintained. Interim measures, as long as the decision is not arrived at, to prevent ongoing sexual harassment at the written request of the woman or even otherwise, the ICC may recommend restraining the respondent from reporting on work performance of the aggrieved woman when the respondent is a superior and the complainant is the junior, writing her confidential report or appraisal, supervising her academic activities, or transfer of the complainant or the respondent as interim measure, place complainant or respondent on leave. Recommendations if allegations are proven. Service rules to be followed as for misconduct. Disciplinary actions like written apology or warning, reprimand, withholding of promotion, withholding of pay increase or increments. Counseling sessions may be organized, community service can be ordered, termination from services in very serious cases, financial damages, and additional recommendations to address the underlying factors. So it depends on the seriousness of the offense. Inquiry report. On the completion of an inquiry under this Act, the ICC shall provide a report of its findings to the employer within a period of 10 days of the date of completion of the inquiry. Such report must be made available to the concerned parties. If the ICC arrives at the conclusion that the allegation against the respondent has not been proved, it shall recommend to the employer that no action be taken. Now the other question is if the complaint is false. So punishment for false or malicious complaint and false evidence. If the ICC concludes that the allegation against the respondent is malicious, or the aggrieved woman or any other person making the complaint has made the complaint knowing it to be false, or the aggrieved woman or any other person making the complaint has produced any forged or misleading document, then the ICC may recommend to the employer or the district officer, or as the case may be, to take action against the woman or the person who has made the complaint. A mere inability to substantiate a complaint or provide adequate proofs need not attract action against the complainant. Malicious intent on part of the complainant must be established after an inquiry before any action is recommended. The appeal, a person aggrieved by so that they have an option for appeal after the decision has been arrived at. The employer has provided the decision. A person aggrieved by the orders of the ICC, or in the case of non-implementation of the orders, may file an appeal with appropriate authority. Either party can choose to seek justice through the regular court of justice. The ICC of Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata, the homepage and the email address. Of course, you know the other members also. You can directly report to any of them, and we will try to deal with it if and when you face any such situations. So thank you for being patient. I hope everything is clear. If there are any questions, we will be happy to answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Sri Ravindra Kumar, Chief Executive of ISI Kolkata, to deliver the vote of thanks. From the other centers, if anybody is willing to say something on this topic, you're welcome. The audience here, I would like to say something to the ICC committee. If the complaint has lost a problem, he had the full right to know what the decision has taken from this committee. But actually, it was not happening in ISI. No, we looked at it, so the director has given a notification to the respondent, and I received a copy of that. No. This seminar, actually, the seminar is actually on the sexual harassment of workplace, but most of the speakers say only on the student. It is not on the student, it is only the female workers. I mentioned that. But Pavitra only may give emphasis on the student. It is not on the student, but it is.
Yeah, I know. I also said that. I can only talk about what I know.
Professor Shobhik Roy, I request you, if you have anything to say on this topic, you have to.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, I don't have anything particular to say. I have learned a lot. I am first time in this committee, on this committee. So thank you very much. I do not have anything to add.
Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my
That's it.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my honor and privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to everyone who contributed to making today's workshop on the prevention of sexual harassment and workplace and a meaningful and impactful event. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Mrs. Ayuti Banerjee, Professor Diti Prasad Mukherjee, Professor Pradita Bandyopadhyay, Professor Shushmita Mitra, and their enlightening session. Your expertise in practical guidance have not only increased our awareness of this sensitive topic, but also empowered us to take concrete steps towards fostering a workplace culture of dignity and respect. I am equally grateful to the chairman of the Internal Complaint Committee, ISI Kolkata, Professor Shushmita Mitra, for recognizing the importance of addressing workplace harassment and for providing the platform for such an essential discussions. Your commitment to the upholding a safe and inclusive environment for all employees is truly commendable. Lastly, I want to acknowledge the behind the scene contributors, our technical team, many staff and facilitator who work tirelessly to make this event a success. As we conclude today's workplace, let us pledge to implement the learning and uphold the principle of equality, safety, and mutual respect in our workplace for women workers, students, and research scholars. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you.
Dear all, we now conclude this session. Thank you for your attendance. There is some tea available in the lobby. Please feel free.
Very good.